way that I love today is so much richer than I did when I was 5, than I did when I was 10, than I did in my teen years. And I can't wait to experience the way that I love when I'm 1,000. Or,
Exactly.
you know, it's like just that feeling, excitement. This is the number 1. I am one, and we are all one. But I really want us to understand, at the same time the teachings were coming about, there was no number 0. There was no nil. There was no 0. So 1 to 9. And then you add up, 9 plus 9, there was no, you just incrementally added. There was no space of 0. This is such a subtle thought, but around the same time these teachings were coming out, we started adding in the term 0. I just learned, and I taught a class on this about 5 years ago, and then I taught it again about 3 years ago here at the Gateway about the number 0, which we could teach a whole lot of information. What I want to get out of this conversation and this understanding of 0, I just saw again with Prem Rawat recently. If we put something in front of us, if something has a hold of us, outside of us, then it's like adding zeros to the front of us. And just for simplicity's sake, the 7 sins that were really connected with and released around this time, the sin of lust, the sin of sloth, the sin of rage, was something outside of us would come on and take over us. And it was outside of us. The grounding was not within us. This connectedness that we have to ourselves, to understand our physical body, to understand and take and connect to our emotions, to understand the mental and the emotional aspects of us. Gnostic teachings up until that point, all the teachings around us up until that point had not identified and pieced out this one area of ourself as a collective oneness. We learned about those in such a level that we could now begin adding. So this way, and whenever we put an energy outside of us and connect ourselves in and allow ourselves to be taken over and lose our sense of self in an experience, in an addiction, in a way of being, we are diminishing ourselves. When we hear the term know thyself, truly, truly know thyself, and share transparently out what it is within you, the shadows, the dark self that comes up, those parts of yourself that you are wanting to let go of when you're connected to your highest self. When you're connected to your highest self, you don't want for anything. You're not comparing yourself to another. You're not enraged by an outside circumstance. You take full responsibility for what's occurring, and you're able to take yourself and add energy and ways of being to full responsibility to yourself. And up until that point, there wasn't something neutral, a 0, a nil, a nothing, a space understanding. And because teachers came in and embodied and showed us, you can dissolve all the physical. And it had happened just like before all the flowers that we see today, there was just evolutionarily one flower. And then 10,000 years later, there was another flower. And then 1,000 years later, there's flowers all over the place. And today, we have flowers everywhere we want to go. thousands of years ago, there was one person that dissolved the self enough to be one with and experience everything. And full responsibility for every other being. That the image of hanging on the cross and saying, this is for you, was really around this teaching that what I am experiencing, what we all are experiencing, we're in it together. And when you take full responsibility for what happens to you, happens to me, what happens to me, happens to you, you're adding the ability to be greater, and greater not in the sense of a material greater, but distinctions that separate you out from anything else. You're able to be more than just the physical.
In the Sophia Code cosmology, which is a codex that I'm currently channeling as an 8-book series coming soon, Sophia is actually key code 0 in the cosmology. And what I love about you speaking about the nothing is that, from that one source of life, there's the empty womb, there's the silent black where there's no stars, there's just the black, there's the nothing, there's the stillness of the Holy Mother within her womb listening for the next asking to be born. And as soon as that asking to be born into form occurs, her answer is always yes. Yes. And so you could almost picture that. You take a moment and just feel that still space of no thing within you that is a hologram, because what Dr. Larsen is speaking about is that we are all holograms of this one infinite mother. And you could call it infinite father, you could call it both. In my personal cosmology, she asked me to call her Sophia, the one holy mother of all life. You can call her whatever you want. But you were made in her image and likeness, and that means nothing less. So a big part of embodying our higher self within our human form is accepting not just I am that, but I am nothing less than that. I am both the great nothing and I am both the great everything. We've got to be willing to accept our sovereign power that was given to us when Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary were teaching, you were made in the image and likeness of God. That's exactly what they were talking about. You are that. And your higher self knows that. And your higher self wants to put a whole lot of zeros after that one for you.
Yeah.
So tonight we're going to
before the invocation, I just want to add a little bit something about the zeros in front of the one. If I say, I can't be me until Greg gets me my coffee in the morning, that's adding a 0. If I say, I can't be this because I had some painful past, that's adding a 0. If I say, if only but this, I could be me, that's adding a 0 before me. And so right now, part of this is whatever the but or the if only, and if only for this moment, allowing yourself to drop any if, but, only, what ifs, and really just taking this full on.